One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, I wanted to play this, but we decided we shouldn't play it. We don't want anybody to have any sort of a way to get it down. The episode of you when you were on The View, when you were running for president.
Right.
Donald Trump is a billionaire, a real estate mogul, and a television star. But does he really want to add President of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to.
You got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
Please, let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump.
In this video, Joe Rogan takes aim at the popular daytime talk show The View, calling out its hosts, particularly Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar, for what he sees as glaring hypocrisy in their shifting stance on Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you.
We're so happy to have you. Whenever you're on with us, we're very happy.
We love it.
They're talking about you in such a favorable light. The audience was cheering, and then you actually started winning in the polls, and then the machine started working towards you.
Joe Biden knows how to do this. Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just...
Rogan points out a stark contrast. There was a time when The View embraced Trump, inviting him on as a friend and even expressing genuine curiosity about his political ambitions. But fast forward to today, and the same hosts who once welcomed him with open arms are now some of his fiercest critics, labeling him a divisive figure and condemning his actions. Rogan is quick to question this dramatic turnaround. What caused the change, he asks. Is it a genuine shift in Trump's behavior or personality? Or is it more about the changing tides of the political and cultural climate? Rogan suggests that the View hosts' newfound opposition to Trump might not be about principle at all, but rather about following the latest woke trend. He challenges the hosts' selective outrage, arguing that Trump's core values have remained largely consistent.
You know who made a campaign stop on the Joe Rogan podcast Friday night? And with all the issues Americans are going to be voting on, you know where they started the interview? Take a look.
It was the episode of you when you were on The View, and I think it was 2015 or 2006, like when you were running for president.
Right.
Okay, let's stop there. There's a lot of fake news coming up, so we're going to clear some of it up as it happens. He was actually, in that clip, is 2011. 4 years before he announced he was running. Okay? That's the first thing they got wrong.
The real difference, according to Rogan, is the way the media narrative surrounding him has evolved. But Rogan doesn't stop there. He calls out The View to do something bold, invite Trump back onto the show for an honest, open debate. However, Rogan is skeptical that this will ever happen. He suggests that the hosts are unlikely to take that risk, fearing that such a confrontation could actually work in Trump's favor, giving him a chance to defend himself on a prominent platform and potentially shift public perception.
You got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you.
So, here's the actual appearance.
Donald Trump is a billionaire, a real estate mogul, and a television star. We're so happy to have you. Whenever you're on with us, we're very happy.
We love it.
But did I look?
Rogan dives deeper into the hypocrisy he sees in The View's treatment of Trump. He recalls a time when the hosts, particularly Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar, genuinely seemed to admire Trump. They didn't just invite him on the show, they welcomed him as a friend, even encouraging his presidential ambitions. Rogan points out how The View used to admire Trump's brash personality and unapologetic style, only to turn on him once he became a political figure. He questions why their opinions have shifted so dramatically, suggesting it might not have anything to do with Trump himself, but everything to do with the rapidly changing political environment and the media's growing obsession with canceling anyone who doesn't align with current progressive ideals.
If you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth.
I don't think Sonny's dumb. But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked and you went on stage with it and It's nothing
Just
there.
go for it. Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Rogan also takes issue with what he sees as the performative nature of The View's woke rhetoric. He points to Goldberg's claim that she and the other hosts have never been asleep to injustices and that marginalized groups don't want to be spoken down to. Rogan calls out this rhetoric as shallow and hypocritical, especially when you consider the fact that they once embraced Trump, who was known for his bold, often controversial statements, without any objection. He argues that if the hosts were truly concerned about injustices and inequality, their opposition to Trump would have been more consistent, and their current condemnation would have been more about principle than about bowing to the pressures of cultural trends. As Rogan continues, he questions the validity of the allegations that Trump is dismissive of marginalized groups. He challenges Whoopi and the other hosts to provide concrete examples of Trump's behavior that justify their outrage, specifically asking if they can point to instances where he directly demeaned or discriminated against communities like African Americans or LGBTQ+ individuals.
It is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a rabies-infested henhouse.
Rogan argues that, if anything, Trump has shown more inclusivity in recent years, particularly when compared to other mainstream political figures like Kamala Harris or Tim Walz, whom he suggests are more inclined to talk down to the general public. He believes much of the criticism of Trump lacks solid evidence and relies more on assumptions or biased media portrayals than on actual behavior. But Rogan doesn't just stop at criticism, he proposes a potential solution. If The View truly opposes Trump's views, he says, they should invite him back onto the show for a face-to-face confrontation, a debate where they can address any accusations of misconduct or misinformation directly.
Like Barbara, she said be polite to guests no matter what.
Yes.
And for the most part, I got through. I did it like I do now. But here's where they really messed up. Watch.
They're talking about you in such a favorable light.
Honey, Joe, I think you missed this part. Take a look.
I want him to show his birth certificate. There's something on
Okay,
that
wait,
birth
no, I guess.
certificate that he doesn't like.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
that's a terrible
that
thing
is
to
just
say.
the
Whoopi, I'm
worst
telling
thing. He
you.
was 3 pounds and
Donnie, I love you. I'm
Donald,
telling
I love
you.
you too. I think that's the biggest pile of dog mess I've heard in ages.
Rogan believes this would provide a rare opportunity for Trump to defend himself in front of a large audience, something that could shift public opinion in his favor. But Rogan doubts that The View would ever take that risk, since such a confrontation might challenge the narrative they've worked so hard to build and expose the superficiality of their current stance. On top of this, Rogan's critique serves as a broader commentary on the state of cancel culture. He expresses skepticism toward the idea that public figures like Trump are now being canceled simply because they no longer align with progressive values.
Show has allowed all kinds of people to come on. People we agree with, people we don't agree with. I've not been a fan of this man's. I don't like how he talks to us. I don't like how he talks to the nation. So I have not really had much to say until he started running for president. Then I could say everything I needed to say. My face said everything else.
Rogan sees this as yet another example of how quickly the public can turn on someone who doesn't conform to current trends. In his view, figures who were once celebrated, like Trump, are now demonized and discredited not for any substantial change in their behavior, but simply because they no longer fit the mold of what is considered politically correct or culturally acceptable.
You can't refute anything with him because he just, when I say him, I
He
mean
rambles.
Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just...
But can I mention one thing?
Rogan argues that the public's obsession with canceling figures who fall out of favor with the current narrative is a dangerous and hypocritical trend. He believes that many of the hosts, including Whoopi Goldberg, are not truly driven by ideological differences with Trump, but are instead reacting to the commercial and cultural pressures of the moment. For Rogan, this exposes a deeper issue with cancel culture itself, where public figures are discarded as soon as they become inconvenient to the dominant narrative. What do you think of Rogan's take on The View and the shifting stance toward Trump? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.